We have a wonderful, wonderful challah that was made by Ms. Valdivia. She thinks that my thought to disappear. Somehow I came when we look still. You recognize this? And then was somebody's freezer, and then just came back. So and they came on time. That's good. Go.
So that was somebody made that at home.
Matthew's wife.
Look how beautiful
It
she
is. It's really pretty.
With gusto.
Hi.
Hey,
So, and so
No, we're not. That's
but yeah, we're good now. We're back to
And if you're good, if you swear that you're good.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Denise, who's wearing gloves, will cut people pieces in accordance of the size of the piece is connected to how much she likes you. I guess. Good color.
This is too much. Take it.
I hope Edgar is eating pan de bono. No.
You're welcome.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, congratulations.
Thank you.
Sorry, tell your
you.
dad I'm
Yeah.
officially a paid graduate.
Hey, I'm in your sister's house.
It's okay, because you're in our son's house.
Yeah, you're in our son's house. I'm in your sister's house.
I found out. Fred,
Thank you.
my mom's neighbor, a friend of her named Judith from New York.
Yeah.
Her father studied journalism at your alma mater. I mean, it's probably she's my mom's age. Imagine how old her father was.
We're a lot of people from New York.
What's her name? You don't know her name.
I wouldn't even know. I don't even know her family name. It's probably using her father's name. Could ask. Dr. Rodolfo.
Shalom, Rabbi. Erev Tov.
Bienvenido. Shabbat Shalom.
Gracias. Shabbat Shalom לכולם.
But I want to ask, are those on Zoom, how does the challah taste? Just in case.
Sure. For sure. You've lost all of the liquids.
Do you want some
Equally.
wine?
No,
No.
I think a little grape juice.
Okay.
It tastes a little funky.
Thank you.
Not totally bad, but
Good
still a little
job.
funky.
Are you gonna need me to do any notifying about the annual meeting, or were you planning to do
Well,
that?
I guess we should.
If you want people to attend.
Yeah. I guess we better, yeah.
I didn't know if you wanted me to do it. or if you
Sure,
wanted to
sure,
do
go
it.
ahead. It sounds much more official because I'm always sending haranguing notes.
Do you want money tonight? for those
No, we're gonna find a way to give that to Sally, but I haven't gotten the actual bill from the Union Station yet.
How many people? ended up-
23.
Do you have?
Praise
Do
me.
you have? How many of us are going to the Auschwitz? When is it?
I only have 2 of you because I didn't know because nobody said anything. So I have 23.
Raquel wanna go to?
Do you want to go to the Auschwitz?
Well, it doesn't matter,
No.
but it doesn't matter because I already had to put them in.
Mhm.
And then they may let us put another batch in later.
Okay.
But she hasn't sent me
So
the
it
bill
might
yet.
matter.
You're wearing a North
But we don't
Face.
know yet.
I have my North Face.
Yeah, but if you tell me verbally, it doesn't matter because my brain doesn't retain it.
I know it's.
I only retain what's in writing. Just like
Somewhere in
like,
the front still ripped somewhere.
Caleb sent me a text, so I copied his text and emailed it to myself.
Mm.
I've done that.
I have
So
a
that-
change on my mask.
Anybody needs other color? For next week?
Yeah, but what you said on your text I sent to me.
You're wearing
Okay,
a
let's
K
move,
and
let's move.
Let's go get plugged in.
I have been there
Yeah, when I was
twice.
stationed in Germany, I did, yeah.
Did you go?
I had gone, yes, a
Yeah,
long time ago.
I went twice. Once wasn't enough.
Do you want some wine? Do you want some wine?
Since when do you pass wine? Let me tell you. Unless you're sick. Let me get this. So John, this is the one I need to put in.
So I've just been trying to eat food. Perfect walk around.
Okay. We are. What is going on here? Well, Shabbat Shalom. I don't,
Shalom.
as we customarily do, anybody has anything news to share? Anybody got their graduation a week later due to weather issues?
Mm.
And now you graduated? Good. So it means you're going to show up back here? Because John misses you. Nobody else does, but John.
Rabbi, my nephew Daniel Alfonso Mendez, he graduated at the San Jose University in California.
Oh, your nephew?
Yes, I mean my nephew. He ended studies in business administration and finances, financials.
One from there is, I'm gonna turn down that volume.
So I just want to tell you, anybody else has any other news?
On Sunday, that was Justin's birthday. Justin, yeah. He's 35.
Wow.
Doesn't look it for sure.
And for those of you who don't know, people are watching us online, I literally drove from the airport here, because I went to Brazil. Then I was 2 days with my mom in the land of our ancestors in Florida. Brazil is interesting now because in Brazil we have civilized habits. You know, you have dinner at 9, 10 o'clock at night. And at least 2 nights, I missed the ability of having dinner because of the pandemic. And they're taking the pandemic very seriously there. The restaurants are open. There is no point opening before 7 o'clock because only gringos show up for dinner at 6 o'clock. I mean, it's tea. 6 o'clock is tea time still. You understand? And then and then they close at 9. So that was dramatic. What is interesting is that everywhere people wear masks. I think all the time I was there, I saw one guy not wearing a mask. And there's alcohol things everywhere. And you go to restaurants, I don't understand why. All the silverware is served to you in plastic, wrapped in plastic, everything, as if the coronavirus really gets through the silverware. Right, but it's not true. But in Brazil, it's actually nice because everything was much cleaner. Because there's a very famous Brazilian joke. Two guys go to a bar. One guy tells the waiter, "Give me a glass of milk." "What do you want?" "I want a glass of milk also, but in a cup that's very, very, very clean." "No problem." The waiter comes in, 2 glasses of milk, says, the glass of milk on the clean glass was for whom? So, so now they are really taking this, everything is given to you wrapped in plastic and stuff like that. Every hotel I stayed in, the room, there are little sachets. I brought it to show it to you and left in the car. Little sachets of cleaning, like wipes, or the oil, the gel, everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Even the most basic of places, the way we never had it here. And the problem is, now they're beginning to do the vaccinations and they're moving the ages and stuff like, going down. But the issue is that people never understood, and the media never tells you. In Brazil, public health is always in collapse. There's never enough hospitals. There's never enough emergency rooms, etc. So once you have a pandemic, it just makes it much worse. Right, the president, he said it was like a little cold. We hope he gets elected again, because if he doesn't, it's going to be really bad. Flights were packed. But you know what? I almost had some words with the flight attendant on my flight on the way back, because she was very imbued of her power. And the reality is, I read on it, there's not a single case of contamination in a plane, because the way the filters work. Plus, I have been vaccinated. I had a very bizarre experience, I'll tell you guys. I almost didn't make it here, because you're supposed to have 72 hours before an exam that says you don't have COVID. That was fine. Coming back, I had to do one 72 hours before. There would be a PCR saying that I didn't have it. I go to good hospital. There's 2 good hospitals in São Paulo. Einstein is a Jewish hospital, and Syrio-Libanese, it belongs to the Arabs. The Arab one was closer. I went to that one. I paid $60 or $70 for the test. They do it in the car. They did it 2, one in your throat, one in your nose. And within 24 hours, I did 2 days before, within 24 hours, I get the result, positive on both. I said, this can't be. This is a false positive. He said, there's no false positives, only false negatives. I said, no. I have had COVID. I have had the vaccine. I know what it feels like. 0 symptoms. I can't have this. Brazil, you try to talk to them. Nobody answers the phone. I called. I tried to speak with the head. They said they'll call you back. They never call me back. There's a pharmacy literally across the street from the hotel. I went there and said, can you make me a rapid test and sign on it and sign on the result? Yes, I can. And that rapid test was a third of the price, was like $20, and was negative. And she gave it to me. And because I remember that they had just said that if you did a rapid test, but was in front of somebody that signed, not a take-home test, they would accept it. And they did. So that's how I got here. But now I'm fighting the Arab hospital. And then I wrote them a nasty email. They replied yesterday, they'll get back to me. I'm going to cancel it on my credit card for sure. Anyway, that's my story. So otherwise, Brazil was awesome. And I met with some people, Brit Braja, and other amusing activities. And a good time was had by all. And hopefully, depending how things go, I'll go back in October. So nobody had anything else to add? We're going to start our service on
Page 4, Havana Shira.
Havana Shira, page 4.
Havana Shira, Shir Hallelujah.
Havana Shira, Shir Hallelujah. Havana Shira, Shir Hallelujah.
Now we turn our prayer books to page 7. Maybe whom should I invite? I'd like to invite Joyce, who hasn't been here in quite a while, but whom we honor very much. I want you all to see that she really exists and she has more than the top of her face.
Let us welcome to God, may the radiance. May its radiance warm our hearts as we kindle.
Light is the symbol of God's presence in our lives. The eternal one is our light in our soul.
Light is the symbol of the holiness within each of us. The human spirit is the light of God. Light is the symbol of Israel's mission, as it is written, I have made you a covenant people to serve as a light to the nations. Praise the eternal God, creator of the universe, who follows us, follows our lives, laws, and teachings. We are mindful of his timeless guidance as we kindle the light of God.
May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace. Amen. Thank you, Joyce.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu le'adlikneh shel Shabbat.
Page 76 for the fourth service of prayer book, because this is the fourth Shabbat. Gather together now that the shadows of evening fall. We open our hearts to the sweet and comforting influences of our worship. We're thankful for countless blessings and for the ceaseless flow of God's goodness to us. Every day we receive the fullness of this bounty. When we are tried by sorrow or times of anguish, it is not that we have been forsaken. The Eternal One always is with us, guiding us along the path of life. May we be grateful for having been granted the strength to endure our trials. And when our ordeal has passed, may we draw comfort from the hope and faith that better days may lie ahead.
Yitkara v'yitkada shmerava, ve'amad yivrakirte ve'amrit malchute, v'chayekom ve'yom echom, u'v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, u'vizman karim, ve'imru amen. Yeh shmerava mevorach, Leolam le'amaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach v'yishtaba, v'yitpar v'yitroma v'yitnaseh, v'yitada, v'yitale, v'yitala, Shemer kol brechu, Leila v'nkol v'chata v'shirata, Tush b'chata v'nechemata, dameron behoma, Veru, Amen.
I ask you to please come to page 78 for the call to worship the Baruch Hu. Please rise. Baruch Hu et Adonai Amvorach. Praise the eternal God to whom all praise is due. Baruch Adonai Amvorach leolam vaed. All praise.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai, Hanevorach. Baruch Adonai, Hamevorach, Hamevorach, Leolam Vaed. Hamevorach, Hamevorach, Leolam Vaed.
Page 79. You are our God, the source from which life and all its blessings flow. Wherever we turn our eyes, we behold signs of your goodness and grace. The fullness of your power is disclosed to us in your guidance of our people, in your constant shaping of human destiny, and in the wondrous works of creation. Your guiding spirit is present in all your works. The harmony and grandeur of nature speaks to us of you, of your infinite might and majesty. Next page, page 80. Together on page 81, we affirm Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal is our God. The Eternal is one. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Lord, forever.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated as we continue the Ve'ahavta on page 82 in Hebrew. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לעוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
You shall love the eternal God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all of your might. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be upon your heart, shall be upon your heart. You shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and when you rise up. You shall bind them for a sign upon your hands, and they shall be a symbol before your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
We continue praying responsively on page 84. Trust in the Eternal One with all your heart and do not rely only on your own limited understanding. Time and again, God has redeemed us from the hand of oppressors and revived our spirits when our own strength failed us. We rejoice in God's guiding power. We praise and give thanks to the Eternal One.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neda b'kodesh, Torah tehilot osef ele, Torah tehilot osef ele. Malachut charahu banecha, bokeh hayam lefnei Moshe, Zelianu ve'amru, Zelianu ve'amru, Adonai lo le'olam va'ed, Adonai lo le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neda b'kodesh, Norah tehilot osef ele, Norah tehilot osef ele.
On top of page 18:5. The people of Israel shall preserve the Sabbath. Observing the Sabbath in every generation is a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between God and the people of Israel forever.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובני ישראל אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Those who preserve Shabbat and call it a delight will rejoice. The people that hallow Shabbat delight in your goodness, for being pleased with the seventh day, you made it the most precious of days, a day of gratitude for the work of creation.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. מקדשי, מקדשי שבי שבת, כולם ישבעו ויתענגו בטובך שבת, ובשביעי רצית בו בקידש השבת, חמדת יביא אותו קראת השבת, זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת.
Page 86. Grant, O God, that we may lie down in peace. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with wise counsel. Yes. Now we rise on page 87 for the Amida.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufia kitahilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, Elegon, Omer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'kolei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevii Geula libnei bneihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Oseu Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Esat Sarah.
Page 87. We praise you, God of our mothers and fathers, God of Abraham, God of Sarah, God of all generations. You bestow loving kindness on all your people. You remember the devotion of those who came before us. As you guided our ancestors with love, you offer hope to us, their descendants. You are our creator and helper, our guide and protector. We praise you, eternal God, shield of Abraham and help of Sarah. Next page together. Infinite.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכול אתה, רב להושיע, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו משני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות, ומדום אליו, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל.
Bottom of page 89. As we become more fully aware of God's presence, we discover our life's truth in the knowledge that we can worship God in holiness only as we serve each other in love. How much we owe to the labors of others. Day by day, they endure pain and peril for our sake. Numberless gifts and blessings have been laid in our cradles as our birthright. May we then be just and great-hearted in our dealings with one another, sharing the fruits of our common labors, acknowledging that we're but stewards of whatever we possess. Help us be among those who give generously of themselves, that others may not hunger, who dare to be bearers of light in the dark loneliness of stricken lives, who struggle and even bleed for the triumph of justice for all people. So shall we be partners in the repair of our world, for that has been our vision and goal throughout the ages. We may be seated as we continue on page 92 together. We gratefully acknowledge that the eternal God is our creator and preserver, the rock of our life and the shield of our health. We thank God and sing praises for the gift of life itself, for our souls that are ever in God's keeping, for the signs of our Creator's presence that we encounter every day, and for God's wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. Truly, our blessings are without end, and God's loving kindness never ceases. Therefore, do we forever put our trust in the Eternal One. Page 93. Grant us peace, our most precious gift, eternal source of peace, and enable our people Israel to be its messenger to all the world. Bless our country, that it may ever be a pursuer of peace and its advocate in the Council of Nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and harmony among the inhabitants of all lands. Plant virtue in every soul, and may our love for you hallow every home and every heart. We praise you, O God, giver of peace. Amen.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech hador lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech hador lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל לב ובכל שעה, Yishomecha, Shalom Rabba Yisrael Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rabba Yisrael Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Before silent prayer, we turn to page 10 for the prayer of those in need of healing. Page 10. Prayer invites God's presence to lift our spirits. It allows the blessing and gift of hope to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. This Shabbat, we pray first for members of our congregation, Gary Keshner, Marvin Aaron, Art Waltz, Mike Herman, Wayne Owen and Pam Owen, Martha Katz, Len Horowitz, and then for friends and relatives of members of our congregation, pray for Louise Diana Bergerson, mother of Dr. Drew Bergson. We pray for my friend Robert Blau, who's dealing with cancer. Caleb asked us to pray for Michael Damaris, his mom's boyfriend, his mom Marilyn Russell, his uncle Richard Knoblau. Let's see, Pat asked us to pray for Andy Becker, Anna Jackson, Rose Andu, Bryce Clark, and Colin Shaw's. Joyce asked us always to pray for Lou. Lou always needs prayer, right? Stephen Lloyd White and Jennifer Bolden. Anybody else, Joyce? Donna Vestal. Okay. Anybody else? I have here Matthew Valdivia sent me a message for Jane Trout. Anybody else? No. So smart. And also pray for everyone still around the world afflicted by COVID. Continue there. We pray for all people who at this hour are in sickness, in want, in distress of body or spirit. Name in our heart. Realizing
Mi sheberach avotenu mekol habracha lehivotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu, mekor habracha lahavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We pause now for a moment of silent prayer, using the words our hearts may prompt us, or those to be found on page 94 in our prayer book.
Yehu leratzon libreti vegion libi lefanecha Adonai Tzuri vegoli Tzuri vegoli
So this week's Torah portion is Behalotecha. It is the third one, I think, in the book of Numbers. And it deals with some, tonight I get to do a little show and tell. There you have a menorah. Actually, a pretty good historic representation of one. How do I know? Some the Rabbi. But also, how do I know? Because number one, if you go to the Knesset, in front of the Knesset, there's one like this, exactly looks like this. And it is, that one is a replica of a true, genuine historical finding. It's not a finding like was hidden, it was always there for you to see. In Rome, there is an arch that was made to celebrate Titus' victory over conquering Judea. So they made a special arch for him to march through the, the conquering troops. And in the arch, you see a depiction of Jewish slaves in a cart carrying stuff, and among that stuff there is a menorah, which is just like this. Which, so, this is the real thing. And this was what there was in the temple, and the Torah tells us of the obligation of the priests to keep that light on. It says specifically on Numbers 8:2, speak to Aaron and say to him, when you mount the lamps, let the 7 lamps give light in the front of the lampstand. So that is a real menorah. By the way, the symbol of Judaism is the menorah. Star of David is a symbol of Zionism, which they insist on mixing with Judaism, which works best for us some days, other days does not very much. For instance, San Francisco is not working well today, because for the first time in America, a student union, a teachers union, chose to vote in favor of BDS, which tells me that all the San Francisco teachers should go to hell. They vote in favor of boycott, divestment, sanction of Israel. They should all go to hell. But anyway, but most days that makes me think better about Zionism when this happens. But generally, I don't. But again, the Star of David is the symbol of Zionism. Menorah is the real symbol of Judaism. In time, we got things confused. So, and the ancient temple, they had the menorah. In our days, the menorah really was not about the object, the art, the shape. By the way, if you're curious, where do they get the shape of the menorah? There is a herb that grows in the desert, plant. It looks just like a menorah. If I ever take any one of you to Israel, remind me and I'll show you one, because it is a menorah, just not rounded like that, but it's very cute. Anyway, and it had to do with the light, which symbolized God's presence. Today in our synagogues, what do we have to symbolize God's presence? Anybody? There, see, Roseanne was paying attention. The Neptamid, exactly, the eternal light. So so this burning flame, or in our case, a lamp, it's still burning because it's heat. It's a symbol of God's eternal presence. So now, how do we compare the Jewish view of the light and the fire with the ancient view? Let's see the Greeks. We all know where the fire comes from in the Greek mythology. Anybody knows? Very good, Caleb. Yes. Prometheus stole fire from the gods. As a result, he was forced to endure an eternal punishment fire belongs to the gods, not to humans. Humans, in Judaism, humans are given the gift of fire to create light. We light fires, traditionally at least 6 days of the week. On the seventh day, where the Torah says specifically we are forbidden to create fires, we're forbidden to light or extinguish a lamp, symbolic that the Shabbat, the world belongs to God. However, rabbis taught us right before Shabbat, we light some kind of candles in our household to welcome the Shabbat day. As I have told you many, many times, in ancient Israel, they actually lit oil lamps that serve a real purpose. They were not just for decoration like this, they were for bringing light into the home so they could enjoy more hours of the day rather than just going straight to sleep. We all know that traditionally women light candles, but men can do it as well. It has been done in this temple. Nobody died. The owners of Jewish tradition didn't come to take out our license, so we did good. These laws of the Shabbat are part of the very powerful symbolism of the use of light. Friday night, in the eve of every festival, we light 2 candles, sometimes people light more, with flames. Look at this flame, that they lead straight to heaven. This is a way, I guess, where we want to direct our hearts and our thoughts on these holy days. And on Saturday night, after dark, traditionally, we do Havdalah, now using a different kind of candle, a candle that has wicks that go every direction, multiple directions, showing that our lives are pulled in multiple directions as the weekday begins. So fire and the light it produces are symbols of God's holy presence in our lit homes. Another purpose of light, if you think in Judaism, in Christianity as well, by the way, is to light lamps in memory of somebody who died. In a house of mourning, we light a special kind of candle that lasts 7 days. And then on the Yort side, the anniversary of death, we light, and on Yom Kippur, traditionally, we light candles that burn for 24 hours. And well, if you're really, really traditional, as we did in Brazil, you light actually Yort side candles on every festival as well, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, if you care to know. And the reason for it, I guess, comes from a verse in Proverbs 20:27 that says, Ner Adam Nishmat Adam Ner Adonai, the soul of man is the lamp of God. As we move further in Jewish law, it follows up on this idea. They compare the soul of a dying person, which in Jewish tradition is called goses, to a flickering candle. And nothing must be done to cause the candle to go out prematurely. And the comparison of the soul to light is ancient, not only in Judaism, but in Christianity as well, many other faiths. Christian churches are often filled of candles that people go and light in memory of somebody who died or in memory of saints, depending on the flavor of the church. Now, let's think about this maybe a little more deeply. And this idea was not mine, but from somebody else. What exactly is light? It's very difficult to really pin down what light is. Sometimes light acts like a particle, and sometimes it acts like a wave. But if it is a wave, what exactly is waving? We know that what a wave of water is. You can start a wave in a stadium packed with people. Okay? But you cannot start a wave in an empty stadium. With a wave, something must be waving. In the past, scientists used to believe that there was something in fire that they called the luminiferous ether that filled the universe. But then in 1881, Michelson and Marley proved it didn't exist. And this was a great mystery until Albert Einstein entered the picture. Einstein sat in his Bern patent office in 1905 and let his imagination roam. Obviously, he was a public worker. They don't work, they just sit there and keep thinking about how to fill their days with something useful to do, right? If you work for the government, you don't have to work. Anyway, so he looked at the lights throughout the window and wondered what could happen if he could catch up and move next to the ray of light. Michelson and Morley had proven that no matter how fast he goes, the light would move away at a constant speed. Einstein realized that this could only happen if space and time contracted the faster one moves. If he could catch up to the light, space and time would disappear altogether. Light is something outside of space and time. Several experiments throughout the ages have proven that Einstein was right. But if light is outside space and time, and the soul is like a light, then the soul must be outside space and time as well. We humans have a part of us that exists in a spiritual plane beyond this physical world we know and touch. And I would say that is what the candle symbolizes. That's it. Shabbat Shalom. And now you couldn't possibly have any complaints, remarks, or notes about them because it's way too exoteric. That's a new goal for this year. If you can tell someone that's so esoteric that people don't get it, say, well, he must be really smart. I just think I just think that I just saw a text that relates the candle with the Einstein theory. I thought it was good and related to this. Anyway, that's what I have to say. Anybody has anything to say? No. We will now turn to page 367 for the
368.
368 for the adoration. And as I'll ask you to please rise. Maybe Raquel was here. We invite her to open the ark, but she is gone. Why? Okay, we don't open that. We're good. Page 368. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו. We bow our heads in reverence before the eternal one, source of all life.
ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
May the time. On the day the eternal shall be one, and God's name shall be one.
ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
The day the eternal shall be one, God's name shall be one. Right? We continue now. 371. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision, grief cloud our understanding, we often lose sight of God's plan, yet we know that both growth and decay, life and death, all reveal God's purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. Have set the eternal one before us, and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living, under God's protection we abide, and by God's love we are comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and through our spirits with abiding trust in you. Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, the 6 million who perished in the Shoah, and those of every race, nation, and faith whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. Anyone observing a Shiva 7-day mourning period? I'm sorry. Oh, also certainly remember her, as well as everyone who died on account of COVID in this past week. Anybody has a Shoshim, a 30-day mourning period? And Temple Israel has no yortzites usually this week. Anybody has a yortzeit? The departed who we now remember have entered into the peace of life eternal. They still live on earth in the acts of goodness they perform. The hearts of those who cherish their memory. With the beauty of their lives abide among us a loving benediction. Now, as a community of mourners, we turn to page 375. We join for the ancient words of the Kaddish. It kadal ve'it kadash shemei rabba be'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei bechaye echon u'v'yom echon u'v'chaye dechol beit Israel ba'agala u'v'zman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'olam u'le'almei almaya יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשא בריחו לעילא אמין כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירם בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומה ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and to all who are bereaved among us, and let us say amen. Yes, you may be seated. I want to thank Theo for the music as always. Thank Denise for picking me up at the airport so I wouldn't have made it here by myself. And taking care of the challah and the staff. And Joyce for lighting Shabbat candles and for showing up and knowing that she has a face. There are still many people are questioning that. And what else? Okay. Oh, good. Soon as services are over, we can engage in Temple Israel's traditional. Let's all go for dinner. I have some suggestions. At that point, I get off the pulpit and I'm just one of the crowd because there would be an unfair and inappropriate usage of the pulpit. That and to promote my political views, which some rabbis do, and I have never done from this pulpit. It's Catholic, exactly. So what are we concluding with, my boy?
Let's do a say shalom. I think that's 429.
429 or say shalom.
Okay. Oh, say shalom bimroma. Uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'oko Yisrael. Ve'imru amen. Yase shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'oko Yisrael. 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 Yase shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
In concluding our service, I ask God's blessings upon us. Yevarechecha Adonai v'shmerecha, may God bless us and keep us. Ya'er Adonai panav alecha v'chuneka, may God look kindly on us and ever be gracious to us. Yisa Adonai panav alecha v'yasem lecha shalom, may God show us tenderness and give us shalom, peace. Shabbat shalom. Okay. Let's go.
Thanks so much, Rabbi. Thanks to the community, and welcome home, Rabbi. It's nice to see you again.